She was the quirky queen of Survivor Season 46, and she's also the fourth place finisher on the season after going out in the infamous fire making challenge. Liz joins me now. Liz, how are you feeling after the finale?
I'm feeling so good. I loved that intro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first thing I really want to ask you about is obviously your dietary restrictions were kind of showcased heavily in your edit throughout this season. Really, how bad are they? And I want you to tell our viewers kind of how intense it was to have those kinds of restrictions while being on the island.
Yeah, so some allergies are worse than others, right? I have a really terrible peanut allergy. So, of course, there was no peanut butter and jelly reward this season. That was pretty blatant. But a lot of them are mild. They give me a skin rash or they make my throat burn for a few days. But the majority of them are not life-threatening except for the peanut, the wheat allergy, and oddly enough, I have a terrible cinnamon allergy. So really going in, I wasn't too worried because I can eat fish and I can have rice. I wasn't predicting that the tide would turn so quickly that it was incredibly difficult to fish. And some days we weren't even allowed to go out in the water because of the tide. And I definitely didn't predict that I would have so many fierce competitors that we just flat out refused rice.
Yeah, well, and it is kind of funny how much it intensely impacted you. And I almost feel like some of the competitors weren't taking you seriously on it in a way as well, which was kind of crazy. So I know that something that really upset you this season was the Applebee's reward. It was a crazy episode to watch as a viewer. So kind of walk me through how intense that was for you and maybe just kind of emphasize on why you were so upset and kind of walk us through your emotions in that moment.
Yeah, so in the moment, I hadn't eaten in over 72 hours. Like literally, the only thing I had had were a few pieces of those popcorn kernels that Jeff gave us as sort of this joke, right? And so I was starting to feel really kind of lethargic, and it was all I could do was to keep my head in the game. I know that I applied. I know I willingly went out there. And like I said in my first confessional, I ain't going down like no punk over food, right? And so I was trying to keep my head in the game, but I knew Q was the only person that day that did not tell me, Liz, if I win, you're definitely going on reward. Every single person told me that except for Q. So when Q won, I automatically knew, Liz, you about to go into day 4, okay? Like 72 hours ain't nothing compared to what you're about to go through. And so I started to get emotional. And one of the things that you see is I start to turn my back because unlike how it looks, I'm not trying to guilt Q. I know it's a game. And so I just want him to play his game. I tap Maria. I'm trying to be a good sport. But to Blake's point, it's hard for the audience to see just how serious it was. And so when Jeff asked me my feelings, I did not want to speak. I didn't want it to make it about me. I love attention, but I don't love attention about my allergies. That's one thing. Like, it's like, oh, can we not talk about it? Let's just move on. It's just a fact of life. But something, as I was turning around, I was trying to compose myself, but something just told me, why, Liz? What does it matter? You've composed yourself your whole life. You just got played in the worst way. Why not just be mad about it, right? Everybody's been mad at Q at least one time in the last 24, 48, 72 hours. Like, it's not going to hurt you to be mad at Q. And really, it was more than Q. Because I was so hungry, I was just mad. I wanted Q to play his game. I knew I wasn't a part of that plan. I knew, and I was purposely talking to him in a way that he thought I was a goat. Oh, I don't need to bring Liz because I'm never going to vote her off. So what does it matter if I'm nice to her, right? I knew that. So I knew he wasn't picking me and I just let loose. And honestly, I'm proud of myself and honestly, I feel like it built bonds with people like Venus who said, "Oh, I wish I was brave enough to yell at someone like that." And Kenzie, "Oh, I've been wanting to do that for 20 days or whatever day it was," right? It actually, I think, endeared me to people.
Yeah, well, and I can appreciate the raw emotion that you let out in that moment because I think a lot of viewers did resonate with that. You know, I think people don't realize maybe how much you are kind of like deteriorating in a sense out on the island for so many days. Now, one of the most interesting things about the finale to me was you choosing to help Kenzie in that final five immunity challenge. So I'm kind of curious because we didn't get to see a really lot about why you chose to do that. So maybe what would you say warranted that decision?
Maria was the one to beat. We all, the four of us that were left in the final four, we knew the jury took Maria the most seriously. We all knew nobody takes Ben seriously because he's not sleeping, and everybody, looks at him like he's just this kid. I'm purposely making people not take me seriously so I can get to the end. Kenzie, everyone said, oh, Kenzie gave up at the merge, and Charlie is just Maria's pet. We had enough social prowess that we knew all of those things, but we knew they respected Maria. We knew they thought Maria was the only one left playing the game. And Maria said it herself at the beginning of the finale. Wow, you guys are playing harder than I thought. So we all knew that Maria cannot make it to the end. And so in that moment, I saw Maria and Kenzie. I saw it neck and neck, neck and neck. And y'all, I'm so bad at puzzles. I'm not a visual learner. I'm an auditory learner. And I literally can't see how the puzzle is going to be put together. But I can see that Maria might beat us. And if Maria beats us today, she beats us tomorrow, she takes home the million. So I just sprung into action. I'm nothing if not a creative, unique being. And I knew like my chances are zero. It's not even slim, 0%. I am not going to win this challenge, but I can help Maria lose, right? It wasn't about me winning. It wasn't even about Kenzie. If Ben or Charlie had been there, I would have done the same thing. It was just about Maria losing. So I sprung into action.
Yeah, I
I
like hearing
said
that.
what I said.
Well, and I think that it was such a big move that a lot of people really respected because I think it was very obvious Maria was the biggest target at the time. Now, speaking of targets and threat level, Ben kind of alluded to you being what he kind of deemed you as like the biggest threat, if you will, and you seem to agree with him. But I'm curious to know, did you actually agree with him in the moment? And now watching back the season, do you still feel like that was true?
Yeah, of course, I agreed with him in the moment. I mean, Jeff talks about in the very first episode of this season, all of you have this blind optimism. All of you think you're going to win. I just actually thought that throughout the whole season, people would say things like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe I made Final Eight. And I would literally say to them, why are you even here? If you don't believe it, you've got to believe in yourself. I'm nothing if not a confident person. I think Q and I are actually really similar in that way. We're very convinced. Everyone that went home with an idol was just as convinced that they were going to win because otherwise they would have played their idol, correct? I just happened to cry about it on national TV. They cried about it at Ponderosa. Oh, sorry for me, right? And even to this day, I know a lot of people would say, oh, nobody's going to vote for you. But I really did have bombs to drop, right? And I really believed that the jury wanted someone to come in and own it and even maybe surprise them because they all were so surprised that they didn't make it to the end. So there better be something big at the end. So I exaggerated my wealth. I didn't tell people I had a master's degree in leadership. I personally put my tribe on the jury so that they would give me a shot. People like Tiff and Q, I knew that they were never going to vote for me. They weren't going to listen to me. They were, Team Kenzie all day long. But I knew if I put my tribe on there, they would say, oh, yeah, Liz did do that. Oh, yeah, that is true. Oh, yeah, we did talk about that. And so that they would have given me a chance. So I'm not one to live in the past. I've let go. I've released it. But I do think that, it would have been a good fight. And I probably could have swayed some people. Yes.
Well, and I think, again, people appreciate your authenticity, and I think people appreciate how much passion you had, how strong you were out there. My final question, just a brief yes or no, would you return and play the game again?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, here's the thing. You were so fun on the show. I think people would really like to see you again. Jeff even says on the podcast I listened this morning that you were this very quirky character, and he pointed that out, that you were going to be this huge standout star from your jump on the interview. So I think people would like to see you again. Liz, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me, our Applebee's queen of Survivor Season 46. Best of luck to whatever's next for you.